Hello you, it's bread week. We're making donuts. We're going to be waiting for the text for this week's challenge for bread week. Now I'm quite excited about bread week because it tends to be my strongest. Anyway, I just got the text message. Welcome to bread week challenge. This week you'll need to make 12 glazed ring donuts, all covered in a classic vanilla glaze, 6 dipped in strawberry ice cream and icing details. This is all about planning and timing. If you get it right, it should be easy. They always say this, it's such a lie.
So do not mess this up.
Right, let's crack into it. Okay, let's talk about eggs for a moment. Now the recipe says 75 grams beaten eggs. To be fair, I'm gonna help you guys. It's 1 2/3 of an egg. I don't know what you're gonna do with the other third. I don't know what to do with it, so I'm just probably gonna throw it away because you don't need to egg wash anything. You don't need it for the icing for later. But if you have 2 of these sort of size, I think this is about average size, medium to large eggs. It's about 2 of these. If you have small ones, you might actually get away with 2 eggs. Just letting you know. That is so annoying. It weighs, I can't explain.
Okay, I've added the milk and the butter into a pan. Now I've taken out 4 tablespoons of flour from the main measurement to add to this to make a nice thick flour slurry. It should thicken up quite quickly, but if it burns you'll have to restart again. But it should have this sort of consistency. It doesn't have to be smooth.
For this bread recipe, I'm going to be using a method called tangzong. I don't know if this method is right or wrong. It might actually skewer the donut later on. That's something I'm gonna have to learn. But the reason why I'm gonna do this is to speed up the proofing method. So I'm gonna heat up the milk, the butter, and 2 tablespoons, if not 3 tablespoons, of the flour. Reason being is it makes the actual dough warm, and therefore proofs quicker, but also, because we have so little time, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, it means that the process to getting to the frying bit will be quicker as well, and it will proof quicker over time. I might be wrong, so please check the recipe and the links down below.
I also forgot to mention, if you leave the tangzong to be around about the 39 to 40 degrees, once you combine it with everything else like the egg, it should also cool down to a perfect temperature for the yeast to grow. Now I'm going to throw my dough together under a KitchenAid hook, but if you're doing it by hand and you're kneading by hand, give it around about 20 minutes. It does take a little bit of time to basically produce a nice bouncy sort of smooth stretchy dough. I've reset the hook a couple of times and then I bumped up the speed to knead for an extra 5 minutes before taking it out of the bowl. You should find that it's like a really nice, like smooth, enriched dough, and it should be very pliable as well. And all you're gonna do is set this into a nice bowl, ready for it.
Number 3, proof.
So typically on the Great British Bake Off, they have a proofing method or a proofing drawer or a proofing bag. Depending on what you have at home, I don't have a proofing bag and I don't have a proofing drawer. But you can use this technique, which I always use, and it literally doesn't fail ever. And it's the towel proofing technique. Old fashioned it may be, simple towel, hot water, and all you do is dress it over and it should create the same environment of a proofing drawer and a proofing bag. Quick tip. I thought you might like that one.
Now my proofing took 60 minutes. The contestants might use less time to prepare for other things, but meanwhile I was cutting up parchment papers to essentially hold the donut holes and the donut. Now it doesn't matter if you did this. I don't think it added any value, so please ignore it if you didn't care for that step. The sugars are really straightforward. We're making 3 kinds. One's a glaze, one is the pink glaze, and the other one is for piping work. Later on you'll see that. Now, I will say this, the dough should double in size. If not, a step was amiss or your yeast is dead. And if so, you have to restart the process. Now, when it comes to the dough, you're going to knock the air out. I've got 2 rings. One is 7 centimeters and one is 3. And it should make a nice enough hole for it.
It's quite big, that hole.
Yeah, but remember that
good
it
enough.
expands.
Okay.
So
That is good advice to add heat just for life. Now, moving on. Once we knock the air out, we're going to re-roll it and then we're going to actually flatten it to like a 2.5 centimeter thickness. It really does expand, so please be mindful, especially your donut ring holes, because it really can change the shape of it. And planning the holes was even just more complicated because I didn't have enough despite having enough dough for it. So it's kind of complicated relationship when you're making the donut and the donut hole, really. I think that's a really good advice for life, that you should just plan ahead because I did not get 12, I got 11. I don't know how that worked out. Please ignore how I made that mistake. You probably do it better than I did. Now, there are plenty of holes to be used. Okay, I need to acknowledge what I just meant by that. There are loads of holes of donuts that you can remake and use to make really cute donut holes, like cinnamon, like the classic cinnamon sugar donut holes. I don't know why these are such classics. They were so delicious, and because of the enriched dough, it really added like a really nice flavor to it. Now, I just did this just so that I didn't waste the dough. You don't need to. You can reshape the dough again and make the same rings if you wanted to. I was being extra, and I thought this was so fun to have. I will make an extra video just to make like any other details I noticed. The one thing I will say with these enriched doughs is that the hardening of the outside is much quicker than the classic dough. Not too sure why. Maybe I made it a bit weird. Maybe I overcooked it. But really, this is just something that I'm experimenting with. Okay, so the dough should proof for a second time for another 60 minutes, but I don't think if you're doing the time set in the competition, it's probably around about 45 minutes. Now, these fry nicely and gently at 150, and you just flip them when they're ready. My one fluffed up quite quickly, but I didn't get the donut ring, like pale white line rimmed around it. Bit annoying, but I think these donuts look amazing, and they had such an amazing crust outside and fluffy inside. I just think they're a little bit dense, which basically means I didn't proof them long enough, or they didn't proof well enough. And that's another thing I need to touch on in terms of improving the technique. Now, going by the recipe, they didn't use a tangzong, so maybe avoid my steps, but honestly, these donuts was amazing. Once they're nice and cool, you can glaze them, otherwise the glaze will just fall off completely. And then when you are doing the glaze, give it a couple of seconds to let it soak up, because I think that's the best part of a glaze. And then I imagine, like, if you guys are going for the extra step like we did, we're gonna be essentially glazing one of them with a pink top, and it does leave quite the impression. I'm not gonna lie to you, I kind of did a rim job here and it looks really wrong, so I do apologize to everyone. Sorry about that. So once you finish off glazing the top of the 6, these are the ones that we're decorating with like sort of floral patterns. So I'm going to change the recipe for the pink glaze to be a bit darker so you can see the actual flower prints. This was an interesting process because the icing was so thick, you could work with it, but I think my donuts were still a little bit warm, so you can see the glaze fall through the racks. Annoying, but with the competition time, you kind of had to speed it up. It's quite unfair, but these flour set really well and I was really happy with them. And once you get into the rhythm of like moving the piping bag, it got a lot easier, I must admit. I will have to say this though, because of the heat, it's starting to look like candy canes, but donut versions. And I'm not upset, I quite like it. They're quite pretty actually. But in general, the whole process was really straightforward. I really enjoyed this recipe. Interesting for bread week. I'm not too sure what you guys think about it. Was it a cop out because it's not really bread? I guess the technique is bread because of the yeast base. We just made it in time of the 2 hours and 45 minutes requirement. I'm not gonna lie to you, hella stressful. I don't think I've ever had so much stress in doing the icing so much. I already told you I hate icing. This has definitely put a nail on its head because I am so crap at it. Let me show you. I've also given it a try for the reels. I just can't get the icing. I don't know what it is. It looks crap, in my opinion. It looks okay, I guess. It could be better. I'm not gonna lie. It could be so much better. The vanilla looks good though. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's probably not my best work, especially when it comes to bread week. I normally excel with bread week. Last year I had to do a 7-plat reef. That went excelling well. This year, not so much because they added sugar to it. And literally my worst enemy is sugar. Luckily this week I feel like I might be saved because there is no sugar. There's caramel, crap. I hate sugar work. I don't know why. I just never can understand how it works. Anyway, for this week, it was super exciting to do it. The donut was a shock. I thought we were going to do a bread work. Anyway, if Breadhead can sell donuts, we can do donuts for bread week. I'm really happy with it. Not as happy as I could be, but I'm going to give myself a 5 or 6 out of 10. So definitely not worth a handshake this week. But
I love the process. The ingredients are down below, so please do check that out. If you've come this far, can you leave in a donut? If you've come this far, leave a donut emoji to let me know you've come this far. Thank you for watching, and as always, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching. You're supporting me. I'm going to see you next time for school because I'm really excited for that. I'm not sure what the bake is. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to love you and leave you. See you next time.